How did your golden sibling destroy your life? When I was 8, Jess screamed bloody murder at my birthday party because she wanted to blow out my candles. My parents made me watch my 6-year-old sister make a wish on my birthday cake while all my friends sang to her. That was when I had my first panic attack, but nobody noticed because Jess had moved on to opening my presents. She kept 3 of them, and my parents said sharing was caring. Now at 28, I manage my anxiety with therapy and medication, but Jess still finds ways to twist the knife. The second I said Marshall proposed, she tilted her head and said, "Are you really ready for marriage though? You barely know him for 2 years." My parents nodded as if she'd revealed deep wisdom. Marshall teaches special needs kids and volunteers at shelters, but when my father heard middle school teacher, his face fell. He said, "Well, at least he's stable," in that tone reserved for disappointments. Before I could defend the man I love, Jess had volunteered as maid of honor and started her destruction campaign disguised as help. She was rude to a pastor and got us banned from the church where my grandparents married. When I confronted her, she got tears in her eyes and said, "I'm so sorry. I'm overwhelmed trying to make everything perfect for you." My parents took her side, telling me I was being ungrateful and paranoid. At dress shopping, I found this vintage lace gown that made me feel beautiful. Jess circled me like a predator and said, "It's so perfectly you. Safe and predictable. Some brides want to be memorable, but this is nice too." I watched myself shrink in the mirror as she demolished my confidence with surgical precision. The catering disaster was attempted murder disguised as an accident. She changed our hors d'oeuvres menu to shellfish without asking, even though Marshall carries an EpiPen for severe allergies. At our tasting, his throat started closing and we raced to the emergency room. While my fiancé fought to breathe, Jess kept repeating, "Oh God, I totally forgot about his allergy." But I remembered her asking about it 2 weeks earlier. She had literally tried to kill my future husband. Then came the flower incident. The morning of my wedding, Jess called sobbing about a terrible mix-up. The florist had delivered funeral arrangements instead of bridal bouquets. When I called them, they seemed confused and said they were sure the order was placed for a woman named Megan's funeral. The replacement flowers cost $800, and when I accused Jess of sabotage, she collapsed into hysterics. My parents called me cruel and suggested I get my medication adjusted if I really think Jess was capable of this. My wedding day was psychological torture. During her maid of honor speech, Jess looked into my eyes and said, "Here's to Megan, finally finding someone who might actually stick around this time," referencing my ex who cheated. Then she spilled red wine across my dress during photos, claiming she tripped. While I scrubbed stains, she entertained Marshall's family with stories about my panic attacks and self-harm history. When I had a breakdown, my parents blamed me for ruining my own wedding. That night, I made a decision that saved my sanity. I blocked Jess and told my parents I was done. Marshall and I moved to Oregon, where for 6 months I remembered what happiness felt like. I got promoted to senior designer. My panic attack stopped, and we started trying for a baby. Then Dad's heart attack dragged me back into hell. I found Jess living at the hospital looking destroyed. Her husband had left her for his assistant and taken half her money. For the first time ever, she seemed genuinely vulnerable. During Dad's recovery, she apologized with tears, saying she'd been jealous of my happiness and inner peace. She begged for a second chance to be the sister I deserved. Against every instinct, I let her back in. When I told her I was pregnant, she sobbed with joy and begged to throw my baby shower to make up for ruining my wedding. I said yes and watched her plan the perfect event. 40 guests, including Marshall's principal and my boss. She gave this beautiful speech about sisterhood and protecting family. I actually felt grateful to have my sister back. Then she detonated the nuclear bomb she'd been building for months. She held up her phone and said she had one last surprise for everyone. My phone started buzzing and my friend Ashley grabbed me looking sick. Jess had posted a detailed confession on Instagram claiming I'd been having an affair with her ex-husband and was carrying his baby instead of Marshall's. She'd included screenshots of fake text conversations. I turned around to see Jess surrounded by guests with mascara streaming down her face, telling them I'd confessed everything weeks ago and begged her to keep my shameful secret. She was saying she couldn't watch my husband get betrayed anymore. My vision tunneled as the full scope hit me. She'd planned this public execution in advance and used my unborn baby as a weapon. As the worst panic attack of my life seized my chest, Marshall walked over to me looking shattered. He stood there staring between me, hyperventilating on the floor, and Jess, still performing for the remaining guests. Full story on channel, linked below.